As the law closes in on protesters, the Tonight programme investigates direct action. Should it be stopped?
Tonight, direct action, bringing our cities to a standstill.
If they want people on their side, this is the wrong way of doing it.
Should it be stopped?
Move out the way for this.
You're frustrated.
This level of disruption is not cool.
Are these controversial tactics working?
Campaigns don't win overnight, do they? I think what it does achieve is publicity. The more disruptive a protest, the more it works.
And has the government's clampdown on activists undermined the right to protest?
Move out of the road, otherwise you will be arrested.
Protest is the lifeblood of democracy. We mustn't think that because we don't like particular protests now, that this justifies the government enacting police state powers.
Good evening and welcome to the Tonight programme. From interrupting the Grand National to upsetting the Ashes, direct action protests are fast becoming a staple of life in Britain today. Activists argue their headline-grabbing actions are the only way they can ensure their causes are heard. But for some caught up in the chaos, the methods are seen as antisocial and counterproductive. As the law closes in on protesters, Anushka Astana examines direct action's impact and asks, should it be stopped?
It's 7:30 a.m. in West London, and the morning commute is in full swing. I'm meeting Emma, an environmental activist.
Good, a bit nervous. This road is very busy, that we're about to slow march on.
Did you know it was going to be this busy?
No. Seeing everyone kind of like stressed on their way to work, already like honking. Yeah, it's going to be intense.
Just after 8, Emma steps out in front of oncoming traffic.
It's already a jam.
This is Just Stop Oil, an activist group using controversial tactics to protest the government licensing new fossil fuels.
Bus driver just told them to go and get a proper job. You can feel the aggression almost as soon as they start doing this.
What are they achieving? Seriously, what are they achieving? Well, I've got a family to feed, and what are they doing?
What's your message to them?
Get out of the way! Do you know what I mean?
The protesters have split into small groups and are slow walking around one of the most dangerous roundabouts in the capital, bringing traffic to a standstill.
Move out the way for this bus right now, man. There are children in this bus. Move out the way for this bus.
Move out the way. We just need...
Come on, go.
Yeah.
Why did you just push them out of the way? What made you so angry?
Because I'm a father and that silver van was filled with children. But I also get what they're doing.
So you agree with them?
They've got a point,
you're
but this level of
frustrated.
disruption is not cool. Like, we've got to get, if this was filled with people, get them to work. Kudos to them for trying. I'm sorry I pushed them, but I felt sorry for the kids.
Hello, is that police? There are some protesters blocking the road and they need to be removed, please.
This type of protest is known as a direct action, and these scenes are just a snapshot of the impact it is having on public life.
Go do something useful.
Emma believes these methods are their only choice.
A lot of people are shouting a lot of nasty things at you. How's that making you feel?
Obviously it is like really upsetting that people are getting this angry, but we're here for the right reasons, and if the government was doing its job properly, we wouldn't have to be here. It's the only moral thing to do at the moment.
From slow walking and road blockades to interrupting major sporting events. Direct action is the use of protest methods that are deliberately disruptive, which activists hope will hit the headlines and help force political and social change.
This is literally the only way to get the government to care.
Groups including Just Stop Oil and Animal Rising
This is a death sentence for you and all of your generation.
say this is the only way they can get their message across.
But are these tactics appropriate? And is it going to make any difference?
Emma de Sarum is a 22-year-old history graduate from Dorset. She has long felt drawn to environmental causes.
I started reading about the climate crisis, and that's when I was putting books down and being like, why isn't everybody running around screaming, doing something about this? And it gave me that sense of just, I guess, existential dread.
A fear for her future and that of her family propelled Emma into activism. She volunteers at a monthly recycling and repair workshop with her mum.
I am petrified, I am scared. In about 50 years' time, we're going to have at least 1.2 billion people who are going to lose their homes and lose what they love because of the climate crisis and because of fossil fuels. Do I think about my younger siblings? Yeah, all the time. But doing direct action is a massive antidote to that anxiety, to that terror.
Just Stop Oil became a release for Emma and a natural step she felt for channeling her concerns.
Just Stop Oil, I found a lot of hope and community, and even if it is too late, at least I know that I'm putting my body where my morals and where the science is.
Emma is not alone in her fears for the planet. Some senior political figures have been ringing the alarm bell for years and say not enough progress has been made.
We were leading the world at COP26 in Glasgow, where we set the highest standards in the world. But once that was over, instead of moving fast towards delivery of those targets, we stalled. And we didn't go for all the renewables. We didn't move fast enough. Indeed, we hardly moved at all in some areas.
Lord Deben, a former Conservative Environment Secretary, led the Climate Change Committee for over a decade before stepping down this month. His last report in office stated that the UK government was falling behind on its climate targets.
You said that all of us should make a nuisance of ourselves. There are groups like Just Stop Oil who are annoying the public. What do you think of their tactics?
Well, I'm not in favour of their tactics. I think they're counterproductive. I don't think that works. The only way that we will get done what we need to get done is to get politicians to change the law. And that's where you have to put the real pressure. That's why I want people to see their members of parliament. I want them to go on seeing them. I want them to make it impossible for a member of parliament to ignore this as the central issue.
Militant ladies were willing to go to jail in order to secure the vote.
Direct action is nothing new. From the suffragettes to the anti-apartheid movement, activists have long used disruption to try to achieve societal change. Whilst there have been some successes along the way, the methods used haven't always been popular.
So this is my attempt to arrest President Mugabe of Zimbabwe.
I'm putting you under arrest on charges of torture.
And as you can see, I got very close to him, but was quite badly beaten and eventually knocked unconscious.
Peter Tatchell is a human rights campaigner. He has repeatedly used direct action to raise awareness of causes he cares about.
This was the Equality Now March in 1992. We were blocked by the police and not allowed to continue. So we sat down in the roadway and were arrested.
Luke tells us they remembered
Dr. Carey supports discrimination against lesbian and gay people.
Peter says he has been involved in more than 3,000 direct action protests and has been arrested over 100 times. His methods have upset some people.
I never set out to cause disruption or inconvenience to members of the public. I want them on side. But if, in order to challenge the rich and powerful, I have to create a bit of confrontation and disruption, then so be it.
Some issues Peter has protested against have seen change in time, including improved rights for LGBT plus communities.
Contact the Attorney General.
He sees a similar trend for today's protesters.
Nearly all throughout history, initially protests have provoked a public backlash. They've not won public support. It's taken perseverance, determination, and consistency over often many years to win the public over. That was the case with the suffragettes. They began as minority movements, not commanding public support, but eventually they won the battle for hearts and minds.
For today's protesters, the reception on the streets, at least, appears to be pretty hostile.
I think it's a waste of time. Just biggest belief how they can get away with all this.
No, start drilling, because I'm so done with us, nice people, going about our daily business. I walk around the place, and you guys are damaging your cause. The point has been made. They've just got to stop.
Just Stop Oil have been engaged in direct action almost every day since April this year.
They're just causing more pollution doing this.
If they're not careful, someone's going to really lose their temper and one of them's going to get run over.
I think it's wrong.
Do you worry about the climate?
Listen, of course I worry about the climate, but I'm worrying about what's going on now. I've got kids and I do worry about that, but I need to feed my kids, so I worry about that more.
A poll for this programme found that almost 60% of UK adults say environmental activists are not justified in causing disruption to the public as part of their protests. Only a third say they are justified. For Just Stop Oil supporters, however, the urgency of the climate crisis outweighs the fury of the moment.
Every day that we delay and every pound that we spend on fossil fuels is wasted.
Dale Vince is the multi-millionaire founder of a green energy firm and a major donor of Just Stop Oil.
We saw at one point a man who physically pulled Just Stop Oil protesters off the road. He was really, really angry. He said he feels the same way as you do about the climate crisis. He's just not convinced about their techniques. What do you say to someone like that?
Actually, this question comes up in one form or another all of the time. You know, it's like, it's not working, is it? It's putting people off, that kind of stuff. There's a huge harm being done in the world. 20 million will be made homeless this year. I mean, that's a serious thing. That's a real disruption of everyday life. 5, 10, 20 minutes in a traffic jam, that isn't.
But are the disruptive tactics that Dale supports working? They haven't stopped the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, suggesting he will licence a huge new oil and gas field called Rosebank in the North Sea later this year.
But I just want to push on this point just slightly, which is, what is the point of direct protest if it isn't stopping politicians making decisions like that?
Campaigns don't win overnight, do they? I think what it does achieve is publicity. The more disruptive a protest, the more it works. You can't sit quietly by the side of the road and wave a placard or something. You can, but you won't have an impact. Disruption makes news, and news gives us the route to talk about the issue.
But could the days of direct action be numbered?
The police are now arriving, but this has been going on for 45 minutes and it has caused huge disruption.
In London, this Just Stop Oil slow walk is about to reach a dead end. As we have witnessed over the course of multiple protests, the police can force activists off the road with what is called a Section 12 order.
For everyone involved in this protest today, you must move out of the road, otherwise you will be arrested.
As protesters come up with new tactics, the government, it seems, has tried to shut them down. This year, they introduced a new Public Order Act to make it a criminal offence to lock on to an object or another person. Then they lowered the threshold for what is considered serious disruption to target slow walking.
It's extremely draconian measures to stop us literally walking in the road. It makes our protest shorter. However, we won't stop. We will find ways to continue, and we are prepared to break the law.
Since April, there have been 271 arrests made in connection with slow marches, and Section 12 orders have been issued 420 times. It has some campaigners deeply concerned.
Protest is the lifeblood of democracy. It's been the instrument by which progressive social change has been won down the decades and centuries. We mustn't take the short-term view and think that because we don't like particular protests now, that this justifies the government enacting police-state powers.
For some, the problem with the new legislation is that it requires interpretation by the police, and they haven't always got that right. In May, the nation was awash with pomp and ceremony as millions celebrated the coronation of King Charles III. But not everyone was there to enjoy the occasion.
Where that truck is now is where we parked our truck. As soon as we parked up and opened the back, they were surrounding us and detained us very quickly and arrested us a few minutes later.
Graham Smith is chief executive of Republic, an anti-monarchy group, who had spent months before the coronation talking to the Met Police, agreeing how they would legally and peacefully protest. But as soon as they arrived, they were stopped in their tracks.
There's that image of me sitting down, which is sort of down near the door there. I think I had 3 police officers surrounding me at one point. Completely disproportionate. I was pretty upset that this is all happening, not least because it's such a betrayal of trust of all those assurances we'd had for 4 months.
Graham and 5 others were accused of turning up equipped to lock on. The police said the straps they had on them to tie the placards together could be used to cause disruption.
We had no motivation to disrupt this at all. It would have been a ludicrous thing for us to do because our job is to persuade people out there that we are worth listening to.
As the coronation went ahead, Graham was detained for 16 hours in police custody, an experience that he found traumatising. Later, the Met Police expressed regret, and a chief constable also came to Graham's house to apologise in person.
This was a huge day for the Met. Do you think it's understandable that they overstepped the mark because of the pressure on them to get this right?
Well, no, I mean, they should not buckle to pressure. And yes, it's a big moment for people who like the monarchy. It's a big moment for the monarchy. It's also a big moment for Republicans who want to protest against the monarchy. Democracy isn't just about voting. It's about also being able to protest peacefully. And where we did have a freedom and a right to protest, we now only have a freedom which is contingent on permission from the police and government. And that is unacceptable in a democratic society.
The Home Secretary denies such accusations and has strong words for activists engaging in direct action.
Our laws have gone through the proper parliamentary process. We respect the right to protest. Last week I saw the video of the mother who was trying to take her child to hospital, and she was stopped from doing so by JSO slow marchers.
My baby, move! Now! Now! Move! That's my baby in that car! Let's go to hospital! Now! Move!
I was enraged when I saw that. They've lost their humanity. I was so angry by the lack of sensitivity. That just demonstrates the extremist tendencies of JSO and their lack of compassion for the British people.
Despite the tough talk, the public, it seems, remain unconvinced by efforts to contain recent protests. A poll for this programme revealed that more than half of all UK adults believe the government is doing too little to limit disruption caused by Just Stop Oil.
That's why we've taken steps to introduce these new powers. That's why the police are now responding more quickly. But listen, I'm going to be unrelenting in always pushing for the police to act more quickly, act more robustly, and stand on the side of the British people so that these militants don't get away with it.
But actually, while people are unsure about Just Stop Oil's tactics, polling suggests slightly more support their cause than oppose it. So how does she respond to the Climate Change Committee's report criticising government inaction on the environment?
It says there's a lack of urgency. It says that you've lost your leadership in the world?
I'm very proud of this Conservative government's track record on the environment. My personal view is I don't think we should be pursuing climate policies to the detriment of people's bank balances, and that economic growth must be the primary objective for our country. That's how we create jobs, prosperity and ultimately security.
Cut the ties to fossil fuel! Cut the ties to fossil fuel!
With the law clamping down on direct action, activists are trying other methods to make themselves heard and to shift the dial on climate change.
Cut the ties to fossil fuel!
Extinction Rebellion, an environmental group well known for civil disobedience, is now focusing its direct actions on specific targets.
They're in the business of fossil fuels. We've decorated their building for them in some fake oil. It is cleanable, and a couple of our colleagues have been arrested here today. We've done a bit of damage here that symbolises just a fraction of the damage that they're doing to our planet.
The group are happy to be direct, but this year they moved away from that being at the public's expense.
Extinction Rebellion has done a lot of public disruption in the past and been very criticised for it. It draws people's attention to what's going on, but of course it also makes them angry. So I see Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion now we're just taking slightly different paths.
In response to allegations about its ties to the fossil fuel industry, Wood have said they remain committed to playing a critical role in energy transition. One former leading figure from Extinction Rebellion thinks the time has come to move on from direct action. Rupert Reed has been on the front line of eco-protest for decades.
Would you have us wait until the Thames Barrier is overtopped? Till the Palace of Westminster is flooded out? Can you honestly tell me I should have waited even longer than I did before finally undertaking non-violent direct action myself?
He's tried every avenue and says the situation is beyond critical.
Look at the summer last year, 40 degrees centigrade in the UK. That really has woken a lot of people up. We've got our oceans out of control, way hotter than they've ever been. We need to ramp up drastically what we are doing in order to bequeath a properly habitable planet to our children and grandchildren.
Rupert has an ambitious plan.
But climate action is everybody's issue.
I'm attending the launch of his new venture, the Climate Majority Project.
The goal of the Climate Majority Project is to provide a place for people who share this awareness.
The aim is to build a coalition of voices across society that will put pressure on those in positions of power.
We are doing this knowingly.
We're here for the many who are not just Stop Oil, but who agree passionately with the cause. It's not possible to leave it to the activists. We've got to step up and take responsibility in our millions. When millions of people are determinedly taking action through their workplaces, in their professions, in their neighbourhoods, along with others, that will be something which the media and the political class cannot ignore.
But can this moderate call to arms truly ignite what they see as real change?
I couldn't help but notice that the room wasn't exactly packed full of journalists. Can they really get the coverage they need to mobilise millions of people when a small disruptive protest is all over the news? It will no doubt be a tough task. For the time being, direct action continues almost every day, causing division and disruption. The Met Police say that since April, the protests have cost them £7.7 million.
Future for them is looking pretty rubbish.
But activists like Emma remain stubborn and steadfast in their determination to be heard, no matter the consequences.
We are talking about like life or death here. It's not about like the economy or the environment. It's like literally extinction or survival. I mean, if extreme is wanting to survive, then I guess we are extreme.
That's it for tonight's programme. If you want to continue the conversation, please join in using the hashtag ITV Tonight on Twitter, as well as visiting our Facebook and Instagram pages and our website, itv.com/tonight. But for now, good evening and thank you for watching.
Coming up next week, the problem with sewage. Joe Crowley investigates.
There's a huge sense of anger about this. People want action.